Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here and joining us at the Museum of the African Diaspora. My name is Nia McAllister, and I'm the Senior Public Programs Manager here at MoAD. We are so excited to be celebrating the publication of Black Fire this time. As we begin, we like to ground ourselves in the spaces that we're occupying. As many of us are settlers, immigrants, and/or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent, our institutions were founded upon the exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples on whose lands we are located. MoAD occupies the unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, and we pay our respect to the Ohlone peoples and their elders, both past and present, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We encourage all of you to learn more about the native lands that you occupy by visiting nativeland.ca. Today is a celebration of the publication of Black Fire this time. This is also the first official in-person celebration on the tour of this book, and so this is a really exciting moment, and thank you all for being in company with us for this. Celebrating the history and legacy of the Black arts movement, this anthology contains the work of over 100 Black poets and writers and the last living legends of the movement, including Sonia Sanchez, Ishmael Reed, Eugene B. Redman, and Akisha Toure. This intergenerational collection is a conversation bridging the founders of the movement with contemporary writers in the tradition. This evening, we will be treated to live readings from over 13 poets who are featured in the anthology. And I do want to mention that copies of this incredible book are available downstairs, so if you haven't had a chance to pick up your copy, please do so. And I want to give a thank you to both the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library and Litquake for co-presenting this event with us. Thank you so much for your support. And so on that note, I would like to invite up Michael Ward to say a few words and then introduce our host for this evening, Heather Buchanan of Aquarius Press. Welcome.
Thank you, Nia. So it's always cool to be back at MoAD. I've spent a lot of time in this room and at the museum. I claim giving thanks as my superpower. So first of all, I want to just say anyone who is not thanked, who should be thanked, is not on purpose. Just forgive me. So thanks to Dr. Kim McMillan and Kofi Antwi for contributing. Go ahead, clap for these people. For contributing the time, the sacrifice, the ingenuity, and the love that it takes to see any creative, endeavor through. And I read this anthology. The first Black Fire had a profound impact on me as a child. So it's wonderful to be in this book with so many people who influenced me, so many of my literary heroes. And it is a profound contribution to American letters. So I see big things already happening from this anthology. I also want to thank all the writers and the visual artists who show up in the pages of Black Fire this time. I want to thank Nia and MoAD, Heather, and Willow Books, Jack at Litquake, Jack Bouler, who's sitting back there, and also the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for making this celebration possible. As a book lover myself and as a member of the board of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, I just want to leave you with two recommendations. One, continue this celebration by joining 5,000 other book lovers this weekend at the Night of Ideas, which takes place at the library. There'll be 5,000 people there. It goes from 7 to 1 a.m. in the morning. The fact that it goes to 1 a.m. tells you that there's going to be some party going on, right? Not just book reading. And two, I want to encourage you all to buy this book and to spread the word. Thank you. I had one other thing that I'm supposed to do while I'm up here, and that is to introduce Heather Buchanan, who is an award-winning publisher and producer. She's the publisher of Blackfire this time and the director of this national tour. So this is another person who, without her, we would not be here tonight. Heather?
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. How are you all? I'm so very excited and happy to see you. I'm coming to you from Detroit, Michigan, so I'm still a little, but I had to be here to meet you all and to share the joy that I've had working with all of these poets in this beautiful collection. It took us 2.5 years to pull this book together and to have over 100 Black poets and writers from across the country, from the Caribbean, and from Africa as well. There's something for everyone in this collection, and I highly encourage you to check out the book. You will be very pleased and impressed. We made a point of making it different from other collections you probably have come across. It's not hardcore academic. It's not overly creative emoji type things like that. It's a good blend of different personalities and works and perspectives, philosophies. I think a great message that comes out of it is that African American literature is not just this monolithic thing, or it's not stuck in the past either. It reaches into the future. It's a touch of Afrofuturism in it, and like I said, something for everyone. So it's my great, great pleasure to start introducing these poets to you. So the first poet we were going to have today, I don't know if I've seen him yet, Tongo Ison Martin, our current, oh, he's always late. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's how rock stars are, huh? Okay, well, in this case, we're going to start with a woman that I'm so very honored and pleased to have met today for the first time. Her name is Judy Juanita. At San Francisco State in the 1960s, Judy Juanita joined fellow student protesters to revolutionize American higher education and create the nation's first Black Studies department. That's something. Thank you. Her semi-autobiographical debut novel, Virgin Soul, features a young woman in the 1960s who joins the Black Panther Party. Judy's works appear in Oakland Noir, Crab Orchard Review, a million other places. Her writing focuses on Black politics, culture, and art. De facto feminism, essay straight out of Oakland, explores key shifts and contradictions in her own artistic development as it explores Black and female empowerment. In her play, Life is a Carousel, featured at Beyond Baroque in Venice in 2019, a Black woman academic argues with the forgotten founder of Black Studies about the Academy and Black Studies and the Struggle. This play is included in Juanita's book, Homage to the Black Arts Movement, A Handbook. Judy's 20-odd plays have been produced in the Bay Area, LA, and New York City. Judy Juanita.
Thank you, Heather, and thank Kim for putting this incredible anthology together. So this is in the book. It's called Bruno Was from Brazil, a prose poem. I'm from Oakland, and I'm not a statistic yet. But New Year's Eve, I left the Bank of America at 2:30 p.m. The news that night flashed on my bank. It was the scene of the last homicide of the year at 3:20 p.m., which meant I dodged a bullet by 45 minutes. Witnesses say 2 Latino males and 2 African American males had a parking lot altercation. The Latino driver used an ethnic slur, and one of the Black guys pulled out a gun and shot him. The 2 Blacks drove off, witnesses say, and Bruno, who was from Brazil and delivered pizza, for God's sake, died on the spot. Now, you know, the last word in the guidebook for new arrivals is nigga. And I know poor Bruno heard the word 1,000 times delivering those pizzas. Some niggas on 90th Avenue want mushroom salami chicken. Only niggas want combos like that. You my nigga. When you get money from niggas, check for counterfeit. Niggas, Bruno, watch out. Poor Bruno. The word probably came off his tongue like spit. And he didn't know you could call a black person a nigga and get utter scorn and contempt, like down south when they just ignored it and kept their inner dignity. But Bruno, you don't call a real nigga a nigga. That's like a death wish. Are you crazy? Suicidal? Certain words are like gods. They command respect. Nigger is a god. I'm so sorry for Bruno. He was a sacrificial lamb. That's what you have to do with gods. You have to appease them. Give them a little something, something. And I know Richard Pryor went to Africa after he made $50 million off the word and came back with religion, stopped using the word and used crack instead. But he didn't stop folks from using it. He just made the word an academic issue. Shall we, nigga? Shall we not, nigga? Forget Dick Gregory's autobiography called Nigger. No, a Harvard law professor writes a book called Nigger, The Strange Career of a Troublesome Word. Nigger's a god, nigger made millions, now it has a career. And the country's leading black intellectual, a guy named Skippy, finds one of the first novels written by a black titled, What Else? Our Nig. So I'm proposing a constitutional amendment on the use of the word. There are simply days when it is dangerous to use the word. And one of those days is Friday night. And another of those days is Saturday night. Okay? On Martin Luther King's birthday, abstain. Christmas, it goes without saying. The season is the reason. And proceed with caution on the 4th of July. Fireworks, drinking, and the use of the word by the wrong people don't mix. Yeah. And this is a poem, and it's a suite of poems about a homeless woman on the streets of Berkeley and Oakland, and her name is Ann, even though she says her name is Ann. And she talks, but she's a truth teller. This one is called Ann Goes to Church. A white woman I know, one of my buddies, she big, she got dishwater hair. On Sunday, she go up and down where the black churches are. First, she go inside the open front door, and she estimate where in the service the pastor is. She know all about call and response. She know where to climax. Then she walks out with her cane and her waddle. She bold. She go around the back door and check to see if it's a feast, waiting for the Sunday go to meeting folk. Cause she know about black churches. May white folk church over. Zing. White folks be out the door. Grace. White folk be at the Sizzler eating dinner. How sweet. It's Monday morning. White folk at work. Oh, soon white folk be done got their paycheck and black folks still in church. And she helped herself and keep on down the street as resolute as a street dog. She been doing this for years. Say her only good meal is on Sunday morning in the black community. Thank you.
Excellent, Judy. Another round of applause for Judy Juanita. Before we get too far into the program, I want to take the time to thank Nia McAllister for her, come on out here, dear, for her hard work, tireless work, because we coordinated this, across the country, from Detroit to here. So thank you so very much, Nia. I also want to thank the Friends of the Southfield Public Library for their wonderful support. And I want to thank Litquake. I haven't had the honor to meet them yet, but thank you, Litquake. So let's move ahead here. We are going to invite up Ms. Jewel Gomez. This is another great honor for me. She is a writer and activist and author of the double Lambda Award-winning novel, The Gilda Stories. Her adaptation of the book for the stage, Bones and Ash, A Gilda Story, was performed by the Urban Bushwomen Company in 13 U.S. cities. Wow. The script was published as a Triangle Classic by the Paperback Book Club. She is the recipient of a Literature Fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts, 2 California Arts Council fellowships, and an Individual Artist Commission from the San Francisco Arts Commission. Her first novel, The Gilda Story, celebrated its 20th year in print in 2011 with readings at this very place, the Museum of the African Diaspora, and the Queer Arts Festival. Her other publications include 3 collections of poetry, The Lipstick Papers, 1980, and Flamingos and Bears, 1986, both self-published, and Oral Tradition from Firebrand Books in 1995. She's done so many things. Formerly the executive director of the Poetry Center and the American Poetry Archives at San Francisco State University, Jewel has worked in philanthropy for many years. She's the former director of the literature program at the New York State Council on the Arts and the director of cultural equity grants for the San Francisco Arts Commission. She is also the former director of grants and community initiatives for Horizons Foundation, as well as the former president of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. Whew. She is currently playwright in residence at New Conservatory Center. Everyone, Jill Gomez.
And the coda to that is, I'm retired. I also want to thank MoAD. Every time I come here, I feel like I'm coming home. I want to say thank you, Nia, who herself is a fabulous novelist. So you should be looking for her work. So this first piece is a monologue from the play I wrote based on the Gilda Stories, which is about an African-American woman who escapes from slavery. And what do you do when you escape from slavery? You become a benevolent vampire. And travel around for, a couple hundred years. So this is one of the monologues from that play, Gilda Dreaming Awake. A road extends far into the future, far into the past, one long and winding road. I move again. This time in close circles, then twirling, dervishing circles, green skirts swirling, first around my ankles, then raised above my knees. Brushing your faces as I move. On point, pivoting, burrowing into the earth with my toe. My body a machine for digging. When it stops, I do not. But keep traveling, motion, traveling, salt over my shoulder, pale candles for our health. I cut my hair from my head, bundle the locks in neat packets, and scatter them about the world. I must keep dreaming to remember where they are. My lips are parched and split, not from being black, being colored, being Negro, being nigger, being old, or loving women, but from the lies I've had to tell, from the bile I've swallowed. As I watch my body swirl in remarkable skirts, I can see rows demarcated by the hidden locks of my hair. There is the horizon I was too bitter to see. In the east, a sun still rises, I am told, and following it, a sweet low moon. Why in the dream do I still carry a knife for gutting? If I peer intently, I see deep into the eyes that belong to others on the road who dream as I do, black, brown, white, old, young, short, tall, women mostly. There are many like me. Our knives remain sheathed, our eyes open. I brush fresh cut hairs from my face with bloody fingers. The startling red streaks mark me and the cotton. A ritual painting. Trails are made deep into the rows where others have passed. Do I ever laugh in the dream? Maybe at the thoughtful baby biting her mother's breast to prepare her for separation anxiety. The procession of others, the procession of myself, mirthful? Perhaps. There's a dream I have of who I am. In it, I'm a woman with my breasts bound tight to my body, invincible, armored dreamer with no obstacles in my path. A woman with her breasts bound tight to her body, who can breathe only with care, wasting no air, making no easy motion. I am not a woman ripe for splitting open, but a tightly wrapped package of everything we need to know. This piece is from my play, one of the monologues from my play called Waiting for Giovanni. It was commissioned by New Conservatory Theater here in San Francisco. They commissioned 3 plays. This one was about James Baldwin. The second one was about singer, songwriter Alberta Hunter, and premiered about 3 years ago, I guess. And then the third one in the trilogy will premiere in spring of 2024. I can't remember which century is this. 2024. So it'll be premiering soon. This is from Waiting for Giovanni, and the play itself is about a split second in the moment of James Baldwin, where he's uncertain whether he should publish the book that he's working on. And here Lorraine Hansberry tries to give him a little tug. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Dear Jimmy, that song seems somewhat incongruous with the act of setting a table, but believe me, to a woman, nothing is incongruous. You and I sang that song quite a bit, Jimmy. We all used to sing then, as if the singing might wipe the fear and bitterness off people's faces. But there you are. 3 centuries of hatred need a little more than a 4-minute melody. You are on the road so much. I missed singing with you at the memorial, the anniversary of Emmett Till's murder. Most of the Negroes, black people, in the storefront were so choked with sorrow, Jimmy, they couldn't get the words out. I was choked with irony. A boy, no more than 15 years old, beaten mercilessly and killed by grown white men because he's perceived to be a threat to white womanhood? How closely tied are sex and blackness in this country? It's 1956, for God's sake. How can I or you or Richard write a word and hope to have a single shred of meaning? It's as if our dark skin is a symbol of rampaging desire roaring in their ears. Whatever words Emmett Till may or may not have said to that white girl, to that store clerk in Money, Mississippi, are irrelevant. Emmett Till had no voice at all. His skin did all the talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Jewel. That was so powerful. Another round of applause for Jewel Gomez. Now, here's another person I was so very excited to finally meet in person, and she's one of my own poets as well in my press. Devorah Major is a California-born, quote-unquote, granddaughter of immigrants, documented and undocumented, who works as a writer, editor, writing coach, spoken word performer, recording artist, and poetry professor, end quote. The poet in residence of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, Major has toured internationally in places such as northern and southern Italy, Bosnia, Jamaica, Venezuela, Belgium, England, and Wales, and throughout the United States, both performing her poetry and serving on panels speaking on African American poetry, beat poetry, and poetry of resistance. In 2015, Major premiered her play, Classic Black, Voices of 19th Century African Americans at the San Francisco International Arts Festival. Her most recent poetry collection is Califia's Daughter. Devorah Major.
You. I'm going to start with a poem not in the collection and then move to Black Fire. Island Woman Speaks of Tongues. This is in homage to my great-great-great-great-grandmother who was stolen from Yorubaland and brought to the Bahamas, to the island of Eleuthera. And it was credited with bringing Obia there. I don't know her story. This is not her story. It's just an homage to her. Island Woman Speaks of Tongues. They took my words, all of them, not knowing that in my home I spoke many languages, not only to family, traders, and voyagers, but to hawk and chimpanzee, sandpiper and dolphin. They took my tongue, gripped my throat tightly, and commanded me to use only their words. Yes, sir, madam, please, limited ideas that did not tell of spirit or legacy. We will not speak of the Bakra, who, as we tossed in the belly of their demon ship, tore into me like a spear, chasing the neck of a lion, spilling my blood, yet leaving inside the seedling of a son. My son, whom I taught all my remembered tongues until he understood wind and star and smoothed his freedom road, whistling the birds to quiet their song as he passed by, sending a raven to my window to let me know he was now a man unfettered. Some call me Obia woman, ask me to make juju so they could become invisible, so all the Bakra would dry up and die, so we could return home. But now I only know of healing song and the gift of animal languages and learned words the invaders, rapists, and slavers would not teach me, like survive, struggle, surmount. Thank you. And this is called Down Pressers. Woe to the down pressers, they'll eat the bread of sorrow. You walked on our bones for centuries, turned them to sand, poured into sandboxes for your children to build sandcastles. And when the sand became translucent, filled with sunlight burning your eyes, you found more to sacrifice, sent vultures to strip away our skins, and built ladders formed from our ribs, limbs, and skulls, on which you climbed to get a better view of the lands you planned to conquer. And now we rise, joined by some of your children and grandchildren who have eaten of shame and refused to travel on the rails you laid with our bones. And each of you who blocks our path, tries to press us back, will be blinded by our brilliance. Blinded, blinded, blinded by our brilliance. And I find myself, sadly, having to write quite a lot of poems about reality, the news. And so I wrote this particular poem when I just wanted to write something else. It's called Writing Love. And the one I just read and this one are in the anthology. All I want to write are love poems. In this season of rotting flesh and hollow bellies, in this year of hidden corpses and shrapnel graveyards, all I want to write are love poems to the one whose breath will mix with mine, for the lips I will taste, for the hips I will encircle, for the sap I will share. All I want to write are love poems about shining eyes and sweat's perfumes, about promises made and kept, about secrets and fears shared and revealed. In this year of the buried city, this decade of the hunger crop, this century newly begin yet already with thousands upon thousands of limbs torn off, eyes burnt out, hearts eviscerated. All I want to write are love poems. I don't want this job of recording the children's despair, the mother's grieving, the father's misery, the sun's brutalization, the planet's storms and fires. It's all too much for me. My eyes fill with salt and become blurred, and only love poems will make it better, will clear away. But all around me, these others who I already love, in knowing and as strangers, are being murdered or enslaved, starved or tortured, imprisoned or forsaken. And the poems I want to write evade me until I am left with nothing but this howl wedged between my teeth. All I want to write are love poems about blue kissing my morning, lemons tart and fresh flavoring my afternoons, crescent moons arching away from Venus's sparkle in a star-hungry sky. All I want to write are love poems. All I want to write is love. Thank you.
Now that's love right there. Devorah Major, and she's San Francisco's third poet laureate. Now I'd like to take a moment to invite a special guest. Give me 30 seconds to pull up his bio. He sent it to me on my phone. Yeah, technology. Yeah. Mr. Mark Allen Davis, as he prepares his way to come up. Take your time, Mark. Take your time.
It'll take me a few minutes.
That's okay, and I'll just be reading your bio while you're doing that. Take your time. Mark Allen Davis, Master of Fine Arts, is a native New Yorker and an assistant professor of Africana Studies and Black Performance Studies, Dramatic Literature, and Music Theater History at San Francisco State University's College of Ethnic Studies. His explorations and research focus on the politics of the black body on stage and in dramatic literature, Black Lives Matter, the politics of African American performance on racial and social movements, minstrelsy and vaudeville on Broadway, song and dance, as well as the reemergence and rediscovery of the impact and evolution of the Black arts movement on contemporary theater and dance creation. Mr. Davis is an original cast member of The Lion King on Broadway. And is an accomplished director, choreographer, and dramaturg. and playwright, both domestically and internationally. Everyone, Mark Allen Davis.
Thank you so much. Is this all right? Good. Okay. So my project is still a work in progress. I'm working on the form of it. What I'm going to present to you today is I'm working on a research project based on two gentlemen that are in the original Black Fire, Leroy Jones and Dr. James Jimmy Garrett, who I've been interviewing for about 7 months, and several other people. But I'm going to jump right in. This is a play. This is a dramaturgical meditation about a play that's in Blackfire, the original Blackfire, called Mad Heart, that was produced at our campus in 1967, 18 months before the strike started. And I was overwhelmed by this discovery because I realized that Leroy Jones was on our campus. This is all through just accidental exploration. So I'm setting up the scene for you. This is a character by the name of Zachariah, who's a young black man, 20 years old, and he is a conduit, an empath, an intuitive empath. He is frustrated. He's going to be channeling two gentlemen having a conversation, Leroy Jones and Jimmy Garrett. So lights are up. Zachariah is pacing. Zachariah pulls a bench forward, sits, closes his eyes in meditation. And I'm waiting for you to ask me how old I am right now. Well, ask me how old I am right now. How old are you right now? That wasn't so hard, was it? I'm 79 years old, and my brother Leroy Jones was not a fighter per se. His ears heard music as jazz formed words that could shake up the insides of black skulls. In 1959, he introduced my other brother, Wayne Shorter, as a young saxophonist. You see, Leroy was a critic, but I'll always think of him as a philanthropist. He could detect the precociousness pouring out of Wayne's tenor sax and had this infallible system of recognizing the overwhelming sincerity of a young talent like Wayne. He wasn't a scout for talent, nor was he in any way weaponized to elevate his black brothers and sisters, for I believe that in his mind, we have always been elevated. He saw the cosmos through his ears. Zachariah shakes himself off again. He goes back into his meditative state. Okay, ask me again how old I am, and please don't take so long this time. How old are you now? I'm 27. And 2 years ago, when I wrote the Wayne Shorter piece, I heard his growth as an artist in the stages of his youth, imitating his favorite sounds. In the next stage, his technical prowess developed as well as his sense of composition. And as I wrote then, his role as an innovator, or as another brother is going to write 7 years from now, black people are not Western, they are Westernized. And this splendiferous arc, it's like the natural course for something extraordinary to evolve and innovate. That's how great bebop is. So the music I see as this new music is coming from this country, this country's great artistic achievement. And I preach these words because black American musicians are of the West and nest their culture within the songs and tongues of jazz and blues. No matter where the hell on the map they are, this has the highest meaning to black people. In this regard, European anything is irrelevant. Ask me how old I am right now, again. How old am I now, right now, again? Trying to test my resolve, bringing me some bullshit like that. Ask me right, or I'll fight. How old are you right now? Well, that's better. Hey, Amiri, it's me, Jimmy. I'm 72 years old, and I'm at your memorial, and my head is bowed. I'm overrun with emotions and memories. I'm going to pretend you can hear me, although my lips aren't moving. So I remember you saying everything European is irrelevant, and I can dig that. As I sit here at this memorial, a lot happened in your life prior to our glorious collision. And I remember reading that piece you wrote in 61, the jazz avant-garde. The way you wrote about music, and I know You were going to a lot of theater at that time as well, because you wrote about that too. And your gaze was silently feeding some deep furnace that you unleashed, not when you spoke at something like a party or a gathering, no. It was when you got up on the stage or wrote on the page that you unfurled this elegiac wrath that kidnapped my imagination, as I'm certain you did with so many others. So here's the thing. This just popped into my head. I need to break this down since I'm here sitting in this pew, staring at my floor chimes. I know you saw your names to blacks because we all had something to say about it. And we did talk about the theater of cruelty and the theater of the oppressed and your favorite ritual theater. And I bet you never knew this, but I totally understood that. What did you understand? One little play, Mad Heart. It wasn't so little. You were right at the same time I was experiencing the uprisings in Los Angeles. And your fire-breathing prose mirrored that tumult and travail, that thorn in the lion's paw that caused all of us to scream, primarily, "Motherfuckers, get your boot off my neck." Ha! Well, we got you to campus, and we were already raising Cain. And unbeknownst to us, you had written this play. And in one fierce moment, I remember you shoving that play into my jaw with that narrow-ass index finger pointed to my chest, to that name, Black Man. And then to me, to my chest, Black Man. No, there were brothers all over the campus, from towering Danny Glover to the brawny Muscle Shoals Alabama Agamemnons who wanted that part and had time to do it. But no, you chose all 5'9" of me. But since I did take that role, here I am, able to communicate with you and prognosticate how I know what is to come and to be renewed by what has passed, because that was now and this is then. So, Amiri, this isn't a judgment call or anything, but I can see no way around all of that theater not prickling at that furnace inside of you. And there's nothing from other people's creativity that we haven't borrowed. Our human revolution is preordained because of what we can transform into our own voices. You were everywhere. You saw, heard, and touched this world of Bohemia. You were with Ginsberg and O'Hara. You even saw Genet's work as it premiered. You were feet first in that pot of victuals, and there was no way you were going to come out with your porous creative life not being impacted by all that you saw, heard, and felt. You were irradiated, my brother. Now, let me go back. I'm still 72. So, Amiri, you and me, we're these sponges, right? And I mean, we've remained friends for so long that even this trivial reflection strikes me right now as curious. I was remembering all of these discussions with you about this word faggot and your incessant need to use it every other sentence, and not just by you. But I'm reflecting, and I remembered our brother-in-arms, Ed Bullins, when he told us black folks not to go see the blacks. And he said Genet was a French pervert with faggoty ideas about black art, revolution, and people. And you agreed with him. Because of the time, all of us black men as artists who were fighting for the revolution, and it was brothers like Eldridge who drew the line in the sand and publicly chastised all of us for not being fit for duty. And so all of a sudden, the homophobia became part and parcel. And coming from you and Brother Bullins and Stanley Crouch, and I always found it disingenuous because I knew all of you too well. Since I'm here at this memorial staring at my floor chimes, I guess I don't have to reiterate my persistence about you using that word as generously as you often did, but I digress. So, Amiri, remember this. Tonight, our sole concern will be to entertain you. So we have killed this white woman. There she lies. You remember? And of course, you remember this. Like in the blacks, the white characters are played by people with black skin and white masks. Remember? Am I ringing a bell? No, check this out. Stage directions. Lights up. The devil lady, the white lady, lies in the middle of the stage with a spear or many arrows stuck in her stomach and whole. You will always and forever be dead. And be dead, and always you will be the spirit of deadness, or the cold stones of its promise. And then I plunged my spear into her heart, thrusting it down into the floor below. Beautiful, beautiful, I cry. So there you have it. Amiri, two distinct plays that open with the death of a white woman. One is written by a French pervert, and the other by the instigator of the Black Revolutionary Theater, you. You found your ritual theater within the ritual theater of a Frenchman. That's all. Are you through yet? How old are you now? That's a good question. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everyone, Mark Allen Davis, that was brilliant, brilliant. Really appreciate it. Oh, do me a favor.
Do I have something of yours? Oh, I'm sorry. I took it all.
Yeah, he's stealing the show, literally. Everyone, so we will now invite up Miss Lakiba Pittman. It's such an honor to meet her as well. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a poet, creative artist, educator, and business consultant. She's a facilitator for emotional emancipation circles, supported by the Association of Black Psychologists, and is also a trauma healing facilitator and consultant with Healing Together and Circles International. Lakiba is currently working on the second edition of her self-published book, Breadcrumbs from the Soul, Finding Your Way Back Home, which is a showcase featuring her original art, poetry, and autobiographical reflections. In 2020, she opened as a featured guest poet at this place, Museum of the African Diaspora. Everything always comes back here, right? Open mic series in San Francisco. She has exhibited her art with the Black Woman is God art exhibits for several years in San Francisco and will be one of the featured artists at the exhibit at SOMARTS, or she was in 2022. Her art has also been featured at the African American Art and Cultural Center in San Francisco. She's a professor at Menlo College, where she teaches diversity in the workplace, culture and media, and race and racism. She also designs and delivers specialized workshops on cultural sensitivity. She also develops and delivers classes, workshops, and culturally relevant compassion training throughout the Bay Area, in person, and on Zoom globally. Everyone, Lakiba Pittman.
Thank you so much. You know, I am privileged to be here, but privileged to be in this book. And, you know, when you have imposter syndrome and you're wondering, how did I get to be in there? Well, today, my grandson called, and he's in college, and he said as a project, he has to do a paper on the person that has inspired him the most. And he said, and that's you. So I guess I deserve to be here. It's all good, it's all good. Okay, he gave me the, yes, I deserve to be here. So I'm going to do one of my poems from the anthology and then just a couple others, and I'm going to sit down and enjoy everyone just like you are. This is I Am the Instrument. I play within the rhythms of my own life, seeking a pathway of light and wonder and tiny pathways and cavernous entry points. I have no limits, no boundaries, except to love fully. So I improvise each new day and I whisper, I sing, I drum, I dance. I am the instrument through which I play the melody of my life. I call upon the ancestors who whisper new songs within my spirit, and I don't hold back. I give it all I've got. I step in unencumbered, unabashedly, because the world is on fire, and I am the water. The land is dry, and I am the tears. The fear is growing, and I've got the love. I am the instrument used by the Holy Presence, inspired to tune you in, to resonate within your soul, to reverberate
within your mind, just so you can remember your purpose. I am the rock, the truth, the light. I am called, and I answer that call. I play in beliefs, in prophecies, in stories, so that even when your ears don't hear me, your heart does. Your soul knows, your spirit set free. The griot, I am word, I am the instrument. Thank you so much. This is the storyteller. Tell me your story. Tell me of your dreams and visions, of your gains and losses, of your overcomings and heartbreaks. I want to get to know you, and it can be me. I'll tell you my stories, the ones held deep within the pages of my life, the secrets I've been ashamed to tell, caught up in closets and Bibles and callings out to the Savior for relief, for release. It is through the telling of our stories that we heal ourselves and heal others. Even if we only tell it to ourselves, one story told truthfully, sincerely, and authentically can heal the world. For we all have closets of dreams and hidden stories to tell, yet we believe we are not good enough, not enough, bad, deceivers, weak. The purpose of a life lies dormant within the sheets of our pages, caught up in our doubts about who we are and who we can be. It is through living out loud that we begin to recover. It is by taking a chance with the ink spots of our lives that we spell out the essence of our life's journey. Tell me your stories, and I will also know your lies, and what lies between you and the truth of your heart, for it is often our dreams are tossed to the side, treading water and swimming for life. When you tell me your story, I begin to love myself because I see me in you and in your stories, and for you I have compassion. A reminder, a tugging on my heart to have the same for myself. I see that I am not alone in the capturing of a remembered fable from my life. Our stories reveal the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Our stories heal. So tell your stories. Scratch on the surface and then dig deeper and deeper to reveal the truth. Open to the notion of thousands of voices telling a single story where the griots praise sing, the poets still rise, and the singers shout a new song. Yes, tell your stories. Tell your stories. And this last poem is based on this notion that sometimes you have to stand and fight, right? Where there's something that we call fierce compassion, where you say no. And then sometimes you might need to flow like water. I became water, not rock. If I had died before I woke, I wouldn't have known this river flowing and what this wondrous spirit can evoke, rising and falling through mountains of time and valleys of this life divine. I became water, not rock. Within this midsummer night's dream, I decided to live before I slept, so my doppelganger intertwined with me. And as we became one, I jumped over morning glories, rebounding in time. Like counting sheep relaxes the body-mind. I awakened, rested from a long journey, aligned, and became water, not rock. When I got in my lane, I flourished. I grew wings on my journey. I became water, not rock, and connected my being to being myself. And I'm laughing today and smiling this way as I reflect on where I've been and where I'm going. I'm not defined by works, yet I rise each day on purpose. For life comes and runs and creates and desires to be free. Within me, I answer this call. Today is a new day, and I sit now and think of then. That exact moment of wondrous reflections, bursting forth like sparklers, lighting my sight. Knowing this truth has set me free, I chose life and became water, not rock.
Gosh, everyone, another round of applause for the people. I can't play favorites, but I enjoy her work. It just brings this sense of peace and calm. So, and I know it took probably years to get to that level. I'm still looking for it, and I really appreciate what you do. Now I'd like to invite up, as you see, I didn't get to print out his bio, so I'm just going to look for that right quick. But while I'm doing that, I want to invite up Thurman Watts, who I've had the pleasure of knowing the last year or so. He's a journalist, and I didn't know that he also wrote poetry, but he's in our collection with a essay piece, short story, and it's incredible, Mbambe's Glass, and I really implore you to check it out. But he's here with some poetry for us, so I'm very pleased to welcome him up. He is Thurman Watts, also known as T. Watts, is a founding member of the Nairobi Poets. His work has been seen in the Pan-Africanist, Black Creation, Holloway House publications, the San Francisco Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle, and many other outlets. Currently, he writes for Cadence Jazz Magazine and Blues Blast Magazine. He is also co-writing, or has co-written, Time Has Come, the memoirs of Lester Chambers. Everyone, Thurman Watts.
It's simply amazing to be here tonight. I would like to give honor and praise to all the poetic ancestors before Phyllis Wheatley, all the way back to Africa. In May of 1969, I flunked out of Willamette University in Salem, Oregon, and within 2 weeks of coming back to the Bay Area, I went from 2S to 1A. So I got drafted right away. And the first poem I'm going to read describes my draft experience. This poem was originally published in the summer of 1972 in Black Creation magazine out of New York University, and again, Avacha, in the spring of 1973. Avacha's in here too. So here's 4F, fuck you 4 times. Excuse me. I appeared strung out to them. Even the brothers, therefore, pre-induction physicals, regarded me warily. Walking around in yellow silk, juju walking stick in hand, shouting, I am the cosmic son. Fuck with me and the cosmic father will banish you forever from the kingdom of heaven. It did the trick. 2 army shrinks tried to jam me up the wall but my stick made them ugly when I shook it in their bewildered faces. They dismissed me then, writing permanently disqualified across my medical report. I walked out into the rain, laughing triumphant tears. They apparently realized I dismissed them a long time ago. This one, I wrote this on Super Bowl Sunday. It's called Righteousness, but it's spelled WRITEOUSNESS. Everything is everything. So wrote Donnie. Y'all watching football. I'm working, getting ready for the function at the junction, per shorty. Long, that is. If it's all night, it's all right, is how James Brown describes it. On the horizon stand tricentennial madmen quite botted. Our opposition is firm. We stand on the rock before the takeover of TikTok. None of them stopped the time, is what Marley say. And then I met Peter Tosh and a bunch of heavenly hosts. I snorted some blow with Percy Mayfield. I interviewed Curtis Mayfield, lost the tape, lost my mind a few times, only to realize I'm righteous. This one, thank you very much, thank you. I had the pleasure in July of 1975, Avacha might have been, I don't know. It was at the Rainbow Sign, were you there?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, this is how I met Bob Kaufman. This is called Bob Kaufman's, yes ma'am, Bob Kaufman's autograph. Way past midnight, I'm up, rooting in this lexicon called life, while the best kept secret that begat our ancestors' trip guides my lip that drips from my fingers here. Give this motherfucker some cadence, will you? Grant him legatos that linger longer, because like Hendrix wrote, the story of life is quicker than the wink of an eye. The story of love is hello and goodbye until we meet again. I met Bob Kaufman at Berkeley's Rainbow Sign. We were setting a record for continuous rhyme and poetic reason. He was king of the beats, had trod those mean North Beach streets, the scourge of bad Broadway beat cops who happened to be Italian. It was like in walked Bob, or rather led in on a leash by his handler spouse. At first, a sad sight to see. The lights are going out. In this retrospective view, though, the leash tethered him to the earth he was trying to flee. What happened thence, you have to believe, was theater of the spirit. The mic was handed to him, and it turned golden. Before our eyes, the poet morphed from toothless urchin of the street to gifted oratorical shaman, hurling hyper-eloquent utterances that informed logic and truth. He stunned us with his bop gun, whose bullets lifted us to where he was a-going. He signed my homemade chapbook afterward, continuing on his rarely noticed solitary genius path. Even the infamous Berkeley Barb ignored his contribution when describing the Rainbow Sign Poetry Marathon of July 1975, choosing to mention instead Ferlinghetti, Joyce Carol Thomas, and others. Robert Darnell Kaufman forged ahead 11 more years, despite enduring 39 arrests, electroshock therapy at Bellevue, and a 10-year vow of silence at the peak of his creative powers, dying of emphysema and cirrhosis in 1986 at age 60. Yeah, he signed my homemade chapbook afterward. It was my prized possession till I lost it, or should I say, gave it back to the universe. So I shall end this with a quote from the boat of the poet Bob Kaufman himself. In this dark plastic jungle, land of long night chilled, my navel is a button to push when I want inside out. Am I not more than a mass of entrails and rough tissue? Must I break my bones, drink my wine-diluted blood? Should I dredge up old sadness from my chest? Not again. All those ancient balls of fire hotly swallowed, let them lie. Let me spit breath mists of introspection, bits of me, so that when I'm gone, I shall be in the air. Don't grieve me, Babylon. I stuck that in there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thurman. I really enjoyed that, and it was so nice to hear your work. Another round of applause for Thurman Watts, everyone. And like I say, he's a journalist, so definitely check in with him he writes really wonderful pieces in this area, so definitely check out his work as a newspaper journalist. Now it's my distinct pleasure, oh my goodness, to welcome the gentleman known as the town crier. It's been such a pleasure as I've been working on the book. I was corresponding with him back and forth. He didn't know me, but he spent time and was just so kind. And I won't forget that because it was encouraging while I was putting all of this together, and I really appreciate him. Raymond Nat Turner is a New York City poet privileged to have read at the Harriet Tubman Centennial Symposium. He is artistic director of the stalwart jazz poetry ensemble Upsurge NYC, and has appeared at numerous festivals and venues, including the Monterey Jazz Festival and Panafest in Ghana, West Africa. He is currently poet in residence at Black Agenda Report. He's also co-chair of the New York chapter of the National Writers Union. Everyone, Raymond Nat Turner.
I could stay up here all night thanking people like the Grammys, but we're not going to do that. But I do see some very cool people in this room. A lot of, you give yourselves a hand. You all are good. And Nia's you the best, and Heather, you the best in the Midwest. Okay. So I have two pandemic poems. They were written during George Floyd's summer, during a period, a short-lived celebration of essential workers. You remember essential workers were celebrated. What happened to that? Then there was discussion about who is and who ain't an essential worker. And I'm going to take up there. This is called Essential Work, this first piece. We'll always need race car drivers roaring down streets where children chase balls. Like we'll always need peaceful protesters pepper sprayed like cockroaches. And we'll always need sleeping 7-year-olds shot while they dream of dolls, sleepovers, tooth fairies. We'll always need children playing with toy guns in parks, executed before becoming Hulk Hogan's. We'll always need doors kicked in and our daughters and sons slaughtered and wee hours, even if it is the wrong address. We'll always need elderly parents whacked for accidentally pressing emergency alerts. Like we'll always need mentally ill loved ones massacred in our homes. We'll always need men rushing pregnant wives to hospitals, shot for speeding, and fathers of 6 hustling too hard, chokehold lynched. We'll always need young women who drive and smoke, stopped and suicided. And mothers wearing masks wrong, wrestled down in subway stations as their 4-year-olds watch. We'll always need wallets mistaken for guns, Glocks for tasers, fleeing black men shot in their backs, and bridegrooms butchered night before their weddings. We'll always need tasered hearts skanking in reggae rhythms, and broken broomsticks rammed up men's rectums for fun. We'll always need bruised, bloodied, disfigured faces, eyeballs dangling from sockets. We'll always need drugs and guns, planted, growing into cases, concertina wire, COVID-19. We'll always need right hooves raised test-line to judges and juries of peers on the need for knees on necks, 56 licks or 41 shots served to protect property. Thank you. And this one, I had a good time doing this one over in Hoboken. That's where I didn't think much of it, but in Hoboken, Frank Sinatra town, they seem to like it. It's capitalism, baby. Grave diggers feed hungry Heart Island trenches, plain pine boxes stacked 3 high. They rest side by side in solidarity. For now, they share island real estate with AIDS and 1918 flu fallen. New York is not new to this. Ask African burial ground ancestors. It's capitalism, baby. 799 died today, tasered with temperatures of 103.5 and shortness of breath. A bus driver, track worker, and a couple of conductors I know on site and speak to came down with chills. They've breathed welding manganese, steel dust, and diesel fumes decades for New Yorkers. Yet they couldn't be tested. It's capitalism, baby. What if they'd whispered 3 little words, pleaded 12 times instead of 11, like Eric Garner as the long, white, tatted arm of the law crushed his windpipe? What if they pleaded, I can't breathe, 12 or even 13 times? Would they have been tested, treated, and alive today? That's not MTA's concern. Bottom line, liability, lawsuits are. It's capitalism, baby. Nurses slash garbage bags open, using them as PPE, personal protection equipment. Docs reuse gloves and masks. Multiple patients in the richest country in the world. It's capitalism, baby. Hand sanitizer was $15 a bottle yesterday. $50 today, if you can find it. Ventilators were $25,000 yesterday, $45,000, and climb in. It's capitalism, baby. If water is life, hand washing's a lifesaver. Unelected emergency management cut Detroit water off and poisoned Pennywise Flints. Oh, please. It's capitalism, baby. San Francisco hotel rooms sit empty. The unhoused shelter in place below freeways, in overcrowded shelters, and on cold convention center floors. Oh, well. Oh, this capitalism, baby. Parasites self-isolate on swanky yachts, toasting tax breaks, looting labor's fruits, sucking up shares, senators, Congress members, and blood. Leeches storm the Hamptons, hoarding, greedily buying meats, frozen foods, filling extra McMansion freezers, while working class shoppers tussle over toilet tissue or stand their line, stand their ground in long lines buying guns. It's capitalism, baby. Cars sob in food bank lines stamped insufficient funds a mile long, while farmers plow perfect cabbage heads and green beans back into black soil. And ivory rivers swell from dairy farmers dumping millions of gallons of milk in manure pits, and chicken processors smash 750,000 eggs a week for profit omelet, obscene food fights. It's capitalism, baby. Return to normal? Shit. That Titanic sailed months ago. It does seem, however, that it left the shore capitalism's grave diggers. Yeah. Thank you.
Love it, everyone. Raymond Nat Turner. That's one of my favorite poems. A quick word to the poets, and this is my fault. We're running low on time, so I need to ask the remaining poets if they can cut their time a little bit. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. So many of you, and I wanted to include you all in the program. A large majority of our poets in the collection, even though it's national, a lot of them are from California. So let me make sure who else is here. I know Tarita's here. Melanie Clay, is she here? Melanie Clay. Okay, well then, okay. And then Bryant, then it'll be Bryant and Zakia together, and then Carla. Okay, we just may make this. It's Landon Smith here. Landon, I was excited to meet him. No? No? No Landon? Okay. All right, okay, well, we're going to make it, everybody. I'm so pleased to announce another one of my favorites from the collection. Her name is Tarita McHale. She's known as the Story Medicine Woman. She has published 72 at-risk classroom student anthologies. She was featured at Soul of a Nation at the Young Museum, Afrofuturism Wall in Response, and was a poet storytelling delegate in Beijing, China. Recent books include Synchronicity, The Oracle of Sun Medicine, 2020, and she is co-curator of the Patrice Lumumba Anthology. Everyone, Tarita McHale.
I, too, would just like to say, wow. You know, because when we come together and we know we have to get something done, we can get it done. And we've done it. And there's more to do. Nia. Yes. Heather. And Kim McMillan. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read a piece. When I wrote this piece, I guess I was thinking about Toni Morrison, because we always deal with our interior. And this piece that's in the book deals with the interior, what we experience. Some of you may have experienced these things, but I know I have. So I'm speaking from that point of view. If I hadn't run in circles when 3 years old on fields of grass with blackbird chasing me or me chasing it. If I hadn't remembered reoccurring dreams at 7 years of age, swallowing small stones, choking under bright sky, in front of a long, dark tunnel holding pinpoint light. If an Ethiopian woman hadn't interpreted my dream, recognizing an old saying from her culture, if my body hadn't heaved and cried that day in 1989, recalling what happened 17 years prior with a chemistry professor who said I could not use the problem-solving methods of Africans with whom I had studied because they were going back to Africa, I was not. If I hadn't learned PTSD and PTSS, our body's cognitive ability to record and remember pain. If I hadn't experienced migraines while studying for 3 exams, looking for subjects' connectedness within a circle, reading a book given me, titled Moon 2, then find a quote that read, "For Africans to disengage one subject from life's circle would paralyze the rest and have migraines disappear." If I hadn't been haunted by small globular lights, Van Allen belts, solid glowed lime purple spheres, amassing iridescent lights that would suddenly appear, and learn interdimensional beings do exist. If I hadn't been awakened by a tiger watching me calmly from a dream, heard a spirit come down from the roof through the ceiling and feel its weighted impression sit next to me. If I hadn't called and talked to a Zen Buddhist priest for 2 hours who assured me I was not going mad or crazy, nor had I committed a sin, but was merely entering my enlightenment. If I hadn't commissioned my astrology chart to be calculated 5 times, aligning on earth as it is in heaven as an active noun-verb agreement system. If I hadn't recognized while studying organic and inorganic chemistry that iron is not only a common element found in the body, but throughout the universe, causing life to be pulled or repelled in some way. If I hadn't attended the Berkeley Psychic Institute and learned how one can absorb another's programming, then later invited to Stanford Parapsychology Department with BPI and discover a trance medium who allowed a spirit to share her body. Then discover another one at my job. If I hadn't seen a slug-sized lip-suctioning leech undulate around a relative's head as though looking for a place to land, and when it did weeks later, said relative could not lift her head. If I hadn't suggested that she go to a Chinese acupuncturist who told her at the end of the examination, it is as though something has sucked the life force from your head, which left me questioning what I saw. If I hadn't read in the archaeology of knowledge, we must also ascribe to the institutional sites from which the doctor makes his discourse. If I hadn't worked in a mental institution as a lab tech and learned the difference between a psychic and a sick psychic. If I hadn't heard the birds' crying song while napping, unable to discern how I knew their cry, only to get up and open the door and see birds flying wildly over lifeless kin adored. If I hadn't heard a helicopter in Oakland fly over my house and drop something on the house at the corner that sounded like a loud swoosh on May 13th, 1985, after 2 a.m. on the West Coast. If I hadn't heard the newspaper, if I hadn't read the newspaper later that same morning that a helicopter dropped a bomb on the MOVE organization's house on the corner of Osage and Pine, at 5 a.m. that morning, and noted a 3-hour time difference. If I hadn't felt a patient's medication in his right eye, feel it on my right eye, on my left eye, and associated molecular isomers, if I hadn't heard an unknown goddess whisper in my ear and show the spelling of her name in my mind's eye and found her name in the dictionary as shown, and learned she was a deity of love and war, if I hadn't seen rainbows near sun in clear skies as if to illume answers of questioned insight, if I hadn't been pulled outside to bow my head, point to the vastness of the sky, and at the tip of my finger have a shooting star arrive, I might not have learned that the Dogons of West Africa once every 50 years parade the reflection of star Ama A around B, wearing headdresses that resemble telephone poles because their eyes have not been corrupted. Or that the African, Chinese, Irish, Cherokee, Blackfoot understanding of stars in me is on earth as it is in heaven. And that the experiences and testimonies, visions, synchronicities, and blood memories I continue to speak have earned me the name I have today. Story medicine woman of truths, I may not have recognized an ancestor telling us. I come from mystics who believe in hearing the inaudible, touching the intangible, and seeing the invisible.
Everyone, Tarita McHale is one of my absolute favorites. Now I'd love to share a special treat with you, husband-wife duo, Bryant and Zakiya. And while they're setting up, I'll read their bios really quickly. And then we will hear from Ms. Carla Brundage. And then we will hear from, I called her this last night, I'm going to call her it again, Avacha, the queen of the hour. We will close out with Avacha. Best way to close out. But for right now, Bryant Balling has a Master's of Art in Musicology and a Bachelor of Science degree in Music Education from Morgan State University in Baltimore. While at school, he was part of a 3-week European tour with the Morgan State University Choir under the direction of Dr. Nathan M. Carter. The choir toured England, Finland, Denmark, and Russia, and recorded with the Helsinki Philharmonic Orchestra and the London Royal Symphonic under the baton of Dr. Paul Freeman. While completing his master's, Balling was commissioned by the Baltimore City Health Department and the State of Maryland Arts Aids Administration to write and direct a rap musical. Yeah, it's amazing. And currently he's the founder and band leader of the Bryant Balling Quartet. He has received several grants from the Akhenaten Foundation to create programs that address social conditions in the Oakland communities. And his wife, Zakiya G.E.K. Part, is a writer, poet, storyteller, performance artist, visual artist, radio producer, and host. Her poetry is published in several anthologies. Her radio shows are aired on KPFA 94.1 FM.
Thank you so much. Wow, you all look so beautiful out there. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Kim. And we're so happy to have Black Fire this time. A wonderful read. I hope you all have it and get it for others. So I am Zakiya G.E.K. Part.
And I'm Brian B. Bowling.
And we are the To Be New Cultural Gatherers. So I will read from one of my poems from Black Fire this time. It's entitled MRI. And I actually wrote this while I was having an MRI. Of course, I wrote it in my head. I have a subtitle, another name, which is My Reasonable Imagination, which is MRI. Bryant?
I will be performing a original composition that I'm dedicating to all the homeless people that we see here in the Bay Area. So the name of this song is called Living Here Under a Bridge. living here under a bridge, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. Living here under a bridge, now this cardboard box is my home. Living here under a bridge, this loneliness won't leave me alone. Living here under a bridge, and this cardboard box is my home. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up already walking the street, looking for somebody to help me find something to eat. I used to be somebody high on the money trail. My foot slipped and I tumbled. Now I'm down here living in hell. Hey, I'm living here under a bridge. This loneliness won't leave me alone. Living here under a bridge. Now this cardboard box is my home.
Am I a misfit? A pop-up, propped-up mannequin? A muffled woman? A black doll? A silent observer? A speechless participant? An innocent bystander? Or an unenthusiastic gopher? During my confinement in this prison, I imagine how relieving it will be when I am free. Free to move around, free to speak, free to laugh, free to cry, free to think of more than escaping from this physical and mental confinement. In my seclusion, my reasonable imagination keeps me from thoughts that I consider unreasonable. Thoughts of me screaming until the volume of my screams shatter and crumble the walls of this transparent prison that cripples me. Thoughts of me being transported to a different place and time. And in this place, I will be embraced, not rejected. I will be loved, not hated. I will have peace, not war. I will have equality, not injustice and racism. I will have truth, not lies. I will have freedom, not imprisonment or the illusion of freedom. Pondering, I realized these are indeed reasonable thoughts. So I embrace all of my thoughts. My reasonable imagination acknowledges and understands. This 6 by 12 by 12 cardboard box is symbolic and coincides to the space I inhabit here on planet Earth.
Living here under a bridge, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. Living here under a bridge, now this cardboard box is my home. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up already walking the street, looking for somebody to help me find something to eat. I used to be somebody high on the money trail. My foot slipped and I tumbled. Now I'm down here living in hell. is my home. This cardboard box is my home. This cardboard box is my home.
Thank you. Thank you, Nia.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause. They are just wonderful. Okay, next up is Miss Carla Brundage. She's a Bay Area-based poet, activist, and educator with a passion for social justice. Born in Berkeley, California in the summer of love to a black mother and white father, Carla spent most of her childhood in Hawaii, where she developed a deep love of nature. She is the founder of West Oakland to West Africa Poetry Exchange. Carla Brundage.
The revolution will be televised, with apologies to Gil Scott-Heron. The revolution will be televised. Can't you see? It's happening right now. Last night was phase 6, shock and awe. Phase 1, destroy the warriors. Define warriors any way you want. Every society has warriors, and our warriors are being taken down one by one. Phase 2, cut out our tongues, change the language, redefine words to have new meanings: liberal, entitlement, crime, news, guilty, apology, impeach, president, fake, real, footprint, cloud. Phase 3, take our religion, give us icons and devices to worship. Bow your head and text, bow your head and text. Replace prayer with phase 4, take our land, displace the people. Phase 5, destroy the family unit, undo the matriarchy. Let the women come together for, no, against, no, for, no, against, no, for the safety of our children, born and unborn, our bodies sacred and trampled, deharmonized love. Phase 6, shock and awe. Replay violent deaths over and over for analysis. Was he really choking? Could he really breathe? Was she really carrying a purse? Was their skirt too short? Did they ask for it? Was his back really turned? Tell kids it's okay to dance on the heads of their dead opponents. Introduce the extreme right. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. Ask the extreme left. Who's left? The revolution will be televised. Turn off all the lights. Keep them on. Turn them off. Keep them on. Are we running out of water? Are we running out of time? Are we running? Make sure you have a gun. Make sure you have a gun. Lock your doors. Lock them tight. The revolution will be televised tonight. Thank you.
So very powerful, Carla. Carla Brundage, everyone. Okay, last but certainly not least, I want to invite up poet and percussionist, playwright, photographer, teacher, and Avacha. She's been published in English and Spanish in the USA, Mexico, and Europe, and in more anthologies than she remembers. She's an award-winning poet and multi-instrumentalist who is open for Betty Carter in New York City. Let me go ahead and let Avacha come on up here and talk to you herself.
Let's see. Can you hear me okay? You know, when you go home, look in the mirror and just kiss yourself. We are some fine folks. Despite all the hell they put us through, we are some fine folks. And the brilliance that's happened today, give everybody a big hand. Heather, for having the courage to publicize. Kim, for having the courage to even dream it. And wow, and you for having the courage to write it. I've got two very short things. It would take about 3 minutes for the whole thing. One is from our book that you should have. I mean, I know you have this book, but if you don't, please get a copy. Bring it to the schools. Make sure everybody gets a copy. This is such an amazing thing. I never thought that I would live to see my name and my friend's name in the same book with my heroes like, Jimmy Baldwin and Margaret Walker and all these other heavyweights. But here we are. Thank you, thank you. So without that, I'm going to shut up and also I'm going to start crying. One of the ones I have in the book is called Never Alone, because a lot of people play games with this thing. You know, we want to talk about who we are, and some of us make the mistake of thinking that we are only here. I was glad when Devorah mentioned some of her relatives from the Bahamas. We're all over the planet. These greedy suckers took us everywhere. So this is called Never Alone, so you don't forget it. We have never been alone. Marcus Garvey, Arturo Schoenberg, David Walker, Ida B. Wells, Dessalines, and Queen Nzinga, and all those other incorruptible ancestors who showed their contempt for slavery and servitude by spitting in the face of evil, jumping overboard and freeing their souls, proud, unchained souls, whose restless spirits still roam the ocean's floor, stamping their presence on our dreams and minds and hands, revealing their essence and creativity all over the globe. We were never alone. Zumbia, Palmares, Kawaya, a.k.a. John Horse, Harriet Tubman, Argentina's El Negro Falucho, our beautiful, brilliant ancestors manifest themselves in life-saving rhythms, rhythmic vitamins like La Bomba, bold rhythmic magic, revitalizing our lives with samba, rumba, lando, y juba. They sing to us in daydreams and dance with us on stages. Their tears become our paintings, our books, our poems, and feed our self-esteem. When life tries to get in our way, we will never, never, never be alone. Ya es Santawa, Denmark Vesey, Granny Nanny, Alonso de Yescas, and Gaspar Janga, the unstoppable freedom fighter hero of Veracruz who reincarnated themselves. I say they reincarnated themselves in each and every one of us. Said, hell no, we're here. We are free, and no matter what they say, we're here today and we're here to stay. We are the voice of the millions of ancestors whose names we never got a chance to know, ancestors who know that some of us are brave enough to know their truth, to know that we were born to tell their truth, and sworn to repaying their sacrifices every day with our actions, a sacred legacy written in blood, forever inscribed in our souls, an internal tattoo, an inescapable reminder to never, ever forget. Never let us forget, never, never let us forget to remember the price they paid for us to know that we were never alone, that we are never alone, and we will never, never, ever be alone. This last one, thank you, that I want to do is because I think that one of the greatest disservices they've been in this great so-called land of the free is convinced us that we are individuals until they kill these people that look like us, and one of them has to say mama, and everyone, at least I know that my blood every time one of these boys said mama, or the girls said mama and I didn't hear them. This poem is called The We of Us. When I write, I dress yesterday's visions in today's rhythms. And I tap dance all over the page with every poem and with every single word I write. I am reliving everything these cultureless cultures have tried their best to bury and replace with the sadness of their emptiness, and I continue to sing, keeping the ancestors alive by singing their songs, expanding tradition with new words in strange lands. I am the recognition of all the traditions the soulless have tried to erase. But with a giant thank you in our hearts, I say our hearts, we joyfully climb out of the acceptable respectability of their passionless graveyards and are reborn in every poem we write. We sing to you through the rhythmic fire of samba. Every rumba reinstates your presence in our DNA. We cry the unashamed truth through the bluest of blues, exploding like La Bomba in the face of colonial insanity, and boldly fight the power with doo-wop, hip-hop, and jazz. I say I refuse to silently accept the unacceptable suicidal demise of our existence with every single day. I say every single day I can taste the we of us striving. We are more than just surviving. We are cultural alchemists, an undeniable force of creativity and motion. And through our creativity, we decolonize our legacy and free our minds and spirits. We are a whole lot more than you and me. I say we are a whole lot more than you and me. It's all about the you in me, the me in you, the we of us, writing our way out of the delusion of manifest destinies, self-righteous madness, and reinvigorating the dreams our ancestors died for. I love you guys madly, and I love you, Kim, and wow, let's keep doing what we're doing. And get this book. In fact, get my book too. If you don't have it, talk to me. It's for every one of these beautiful artists.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program. Thank you so much, everyone. And it concludes our program. We can't thank you enough. Nia and MoAD, thank you so very much.